Hi, good morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever in the world you are today. My name is Mike Whitaker, the founder and creator of the Silver Crow Method and the Social Network Shaman. Today's slightly longer story is called The Tree That Bowed. This Silver Crow teaching story starts off in a wide forest where the ground was dark and rich. There stood many trees of different kinds. Pines rose straight like spears. Birches shone pale and watchful. Willows leaned toward the streams, their branches brushing water as if in quiet conversation. And at the center of the grove stood an oak. The oak had grown for many years. Its trunk was thick, its crown broad, its roots deep. Birds nested in its arms. Travelers rested in its shade. When the wind passed through the forest, the oak barely moved. It took this as proof of its strength. When the younger trees swayed, the oak watched in silence. When the willows bent low and whispered with the wind, the oak laughed, not cruelly, but with certainty. The oak said, "I stand because I am strong," so it thought. "They bend because they must." The forest heard this and said nothing. The wind passed and said nothing. Even the willows did not answer. They simply bowed and returned. Seasons moved as they always do. Sun and rain, growth and rest. The oak grew broader still, its wood hardening, its posture unwavering. It learned to resist. Each storm it endured became a story it told itself about permanence. Then one night, the sky darkened in a way the forest had not seen in many years. The air grew heavy. The ground tightened. The wind arrived not as a visitor, but as a force. Trees started creaking. Leaves tore loose from those trees. Branches struck one another in the dark as the wind and the storm increased around them. The willows bent. The birches leaned. The pines groaned and held. The oak did not move. It locked its fibers. It clenched its grain. It stood exactly as it always had. The wind pressed harder. Still, the oak refused to bow. Then came the lightning. It struck without anger, without judgment, only with precision. The oak split down its center, not shattered, but opened. Its strength turned against itself. Rain poured into that wound. Sap bled slowly, thick and shining, carrying with it something the oak had never named before. When the storm passed, the forest lay quiet. The oak stood broken, but not fallen. Alive, but changed. In the gray morning, as mist rose from the ground, a willow nearby spoke, not loudly, not triumphantly. "Strength is not standing tall," the willow said. "It is staying rooted when you bow." The oak had no answer. Time had passed. The broken trunk weathered. Moss grew along the split. Insects made careful homes where the wood had softened. Rain no longer struck it as an enemy, but entered and moved through. And from the wounded trunk, small shoots began to rise. They did not grow straight. They curved gently, learning the shape of light and wind together. When storms came again, these new branches bent. They returned. They endured. The oak remained an oak, but it was no longer alone in itself. It had learned what the forest had always known, that humility is not collapse, that flexibility is not weakness, that to bow is sometimes the only way to remain. And so the grove kept growing, rooted, responsive, alive. The humble tree weathers every storm. In this story, we understand the teaching that flexibility is not about weakness. It is the wisdom that survives in a moment, in a situation, in our life, and in the things we face in life. Learn to bend like the oak did without breaking yourself. Realize and remember that bowing and bending with the winds is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign of strength. It is a sign of wisdom that helps you survive that storm. I hope that you enjoyed this slightly longer story and version of The Tree That Bowed. This and many other stories are in the book, The Silver Crow Method. It's also part of the teachings, and there's a meditation to the story as well that I will release soon. Each one of these stories tells us something and teaches us something about life, about character, about us in general. I hope that these teachings resonated with you and that you found something useful in them. Take from the story what makes sense for you and leave the rest. If you journey, use the wisdom in this story to journey and to find out what is in that for healing for you. If you'd like to learn how to journey, we have different workshops that teach this. We don't tell you what to do. I'm not a healer. I'm just a person that helps you to heal yourself. Thank you for listening, and I look forward to talking to you again.